oftentimes when we start a new productivity engagement with our clients, there's an underlying feeling of fear. There's a feeling of tension that you can sense among the managers. And it's there because there's historically been bad experiences with a previous productivity engagement with another firm that has been there. And they've been so impactful and so bad at times that it could have been 10 years ago. And there's still this terrible feeling around productivity. And that just tells me that it was done just poorly. And it was done without a lack of education. It was done without elevating the managers to help them understand why productivity is as important as it is to an organization and how productivity can improve. So when organizations are met with a productivity engagement that is slapping numbers at the managers and just giving them a report and telling them to hit these goals, there's ultimately a feeling of defensiveness and defeat. And so it leads to a sense of fear around productivity, and therefore it gets a bad rap.
Yeah, and I think those organizations where they have had those bad situations, even if it was 10 years ago or 3 years ago, there are those residual impacts of that are left within, and that pain runs deep. And one of the things that we often see is the fact that those engagements were very much top-down engagements, where the executives worked with the consulting company and provided those numbers, and they were pushed down into the organization with little input from the managers. So ultimately, the managers did not own the targets. They did not understand the targets. There wasn't really a commitment to achieving the targets. And worse than anything else, there was a little understanding of what changes had to be made to actually achieve the goals. And so ultimately, all you're left with is the fear of failure, fear of not being able to achieve the targets, fear of not doing your job well, fear of disappointing management, fear of disappointment in general, and just fear of the unknown. And so overcoming those fear points becomes extremely important for us going in. And we do it exactly as Randy mentioned. You said educate and elevate. Let's really make sure that we're educating and elevating the managers so that we can take that fear away. And you take it away by sharing definitions, sharing information, ensuring that there are updates, and taking those small steps to have large impacts on the bottom line.
And if you really focus on making small improvements, each day, each week, each month, I think that also helps to alleviate some of the fear associated with productivity, because again, historically, it's often been this just wide sweeping cut or layoff, RIF, whatever term you want to use, and really no methodical approach or an approach with compassion to the situation. And as you said, the fear of the unknown, the fear of failure. And so, of course, when you go in and you tell an organization just 10%, every department is cutting by 10%. Well, that's not productivity. That's not improving processes. That's not becoming more efficient. That's not having the right person in the right place for the right task and the right outcome. That's just a cut, and it's not productivity.
No, and I think that, when you look at the surface, fear often deals with assumptions of what you believe is going to happen in the future. And once you have that slash and burn impact and you have that situation where 10% has been taken out without a constructive plan in place to actually improve, ultimately you have the fear and the unknown that there's assumption that this is going to happen to me again. And if it was 10% this time, what happens if it's 15% next time? What happens if it's 20% next time, and when's the end? So the way to cease and make sure that you stop that is to take those small steps towards improvement. And if we improve every single day, we can eliminate the fear and ultimately really unite the organization around those improvements and improve productivity.